panel. Grateful to the witnesses for coming to discuss such an important issue for our national security, but also for Pennsylvania. Pittsburgh's the home of the National Energy Technology Laboratory. Many employees from the Princeton Plasma Physics Laboratory commute across the Delaware River to call Pennsylvania home, and we must ensure wonderful assets are secure from foreign adversaries and that America remains the global leader on energy and other advanced technologies. So I really share the concerns raised by so many of you today about the continued theft of American research and innovation by the Communist Chinese Party. It's a huge national security risk for all the reasons we've talked about, but it's also the stated goal to dominate the commanding heights of technology and to use that technological supremacy to undermine America's economic might, its geopolitical position, our very way of life. And that research and technology theft is a well-documented key pillar of the CCP strategy. So with forced technology transfers, IP theft, scientific espionage, not only providing the CCP with advantages in economic and environmental important technologies, it's also undercutting American workers in Pennsylvania and other places. We are essentially paying for the R&D that China steals to beat us in the market space. How can American companies compete in that environment? So let me start with you, Ms. Puglisi. You pointed out because the CCP does not play by the same rules in science and technology, that our often narrow research security tools are outmatched by China's efforts to steal American technology and know-how. How can we make the jump from piecemeal solutions, some of which we've discussed here, to a national strategy for mitigating these threats?
Okay, thank you, Senator, for that question. I think it's important to highlight first, and the reason why what creates this challenge is China takes a very hybrid approach. It takes a very holistic approach to its S&T development, and so oftentimes, we try to separate things out into complete buckets. And so to have a national approach, what we need to do is recognize how different this system is, right? And to look at the individuals and the companies that we're dealing with holistically and acknowledge that those ties to the Chinese government and in moving forward have policies that are across both our infrastructure and in commerce that recognize that these are supported, that they oftentimes don't have to make market-based decisions, that individuals, and we know this, are sent to study here, to work in the laboratories for a purpose. And we just have to be much more deliberate about the way we look at people's backgrounds. And to begin with, I think, is putting in place very clear guidelines because, our system has been built on trust, right? And I've been in the lab, I've worked, in the lab, and no one wants to believe that their collaborator is stealing their technology or the student that they're supporting is doing that or has some other alternative motives. And so we must make it very clear.
And yet we know they are.
Yes.
In many cases,
and unfortunately, this has been the case, and it's well documented. The other witnesses have talked about this. I myself has written a lot about this. And so I think the starting point is being very clear. What are those assumptions that we're making? And sometimes we can't get to yes with some of these collaborations, and that's why we have to engage with the research community to really make clear on that.
Thank you. I'm going to just move on to one more question here if I can. Thank you. Mr. DeBar, it's good to see you again. Many research institutions, just following up on this question, including the national labs, are engaging in research collaboration with third parties. I don't think we've talked about that much here in the United States and overseas. And those third parties can also be exploited by our adversaries to steal sensitive research, particularly the CCP. What policies should DOE put in place to ensure that the research collaborations and joint research projects that may be outside the labs don't create additional security vulnerabilities? What authorities or directives can Congress use to help on that mission?
So that certainly happens. Let me give you an example. We do accelerator technology with our European friends, where they ship us some accelerators sometimes, and we ship them some equipment sometimes. We generate IP in some of these very large pieces of equipment that could have dual use points. And sometimes the Chinese go into Germany, to a lab in Germany, to try to appropriate IP that we invented at one of our national labs. I know that happened. I have specific examples of that. So I do think of any of our collaborations with our allies, we need to push the ball. I think we have pushed the ball of awareness of them in Germany, France, and whatnot, that China's trying to steal stuff, and that if they want to work with us, and we're going to share technology with them, they have to meet the same sort of standards that we have for ourselves.
So I think it's fair to say, regardless of how tight our security is in our own labs, if we have third-party research efforts underway that aren't equally strong in the security measures, then there's a backdoor where some of the same challenges of IP theft and so forth can occur.
Absolutely, Senator. I'll pick on one thing that Senator Risch has been doing on fusion. America's about to break some major bounds on fusion in this next 4 years. There's going to be some major examples. They're trying to steal it from us and our international collaborations on fusion. And so that's something that historically was more open science. And I think very clearly, both domestically as well as international, that needs to be greatly enhanced since we're about to accomplish quite a bit.
Thank you.